Now then, we've got something a bit different today. Now, following up from that story that I published recently about Christmas with Beryl, the good times and the bad times, this was immediately running up to that. It tells you a little bit about history, or my history before that crash, and what ran up to it and what I was doing beforehand. But it's all about communications. It's about a radio telephone, and I decided that to do what I had to do for 18 months, build up a new business, a new project, travelling the whole of the UK, then I needed good communications. And of course there was no mobile phones in 1980 or 81. This was 1980, 81. And so I contracted with a firm called Aircall to provide me with a radio telephone in my car. The installation was done in Nottingham, where their nearest base station was. It's a national company. There is a new Aircall just been set up with a French company doing, well, it's communications. It's strange that it's the same name. I never heard that the old Aircall actually went out of business, but they told me that if I'd carried on with them, and there was many like me, they would have gone out of business, because I used it for everything. It was a marvellous thing. I mean, it had a huge whip aerial glued to the back of my car, which was a Mark II Jag S-Type, which I used for 18 months to travel and set up this business. And then in the installation inside was permanent. It was you didn't have to use there was a handset. You didn't have to use it. You just press a button and talk, and it was incredible. You just pressed a button and it contacted you to your nearest Aircall base station. My call sign was Jade 270. Jade is a colour, obviously, and 270. I should never forget that. I used it all day, every day for 18 months, and they would connect me with a landline. You see, early on in Aircall's history, the BT wouldn't allow connections to their network, but anyway, at the time I was using it, I just asked them for a number. I asked them for a BT landline, and they connected me virtually straight away, and I could speak to that landline number for a minute, up to 2 minutes, maybe about a minute and a half on average, but you can do most things in that time. And then they cut you off and somebody else had a chance, because it was all on the air, you see. It wasn't like the internet where it's limitless. It was radio telephone, using a radio system, and so it was a bit limited. But anyway, it was brilliant, and it kept me in touch with where I wanted to go for 18 months, and this is a bit about it. We're going to begin. This story is called The Radio Telephone. It's from 1982. It's taken from It's a Rum Life, Book 3, Ivy House Tales, 1970 to 1984. As the 1970s drew to a close, we knew that the good times with Uniroyal would eventually come to an end. Looking for something to replace the work, we pursued the likelihood that the National Commercial Tyre Complaint Adjudication Panel would realign its multi-site operation to one site. We managed to land the contract to set up and organise the transportation of all complaint commercial tyres needing examination and adjudication. This involved the collection and transport for the whole of mainland Britain, including Scotland and Wales. It took me 18 months to set up and cost me about £15,000, but the income would have been regular and fairly substantial, knowing the level of complaints that had been through the Tyre Manufacturers Conference system over the previous 10 years. At the planning stage, I had thought if I had to do this and travel all over the UK, I would have my car of choice, a 12-year-old 3.8 S-Type Jag. I intended doing it in comfort and driving a motor that was fun too. Communications were important, and to keep in constant contact with base, I arranged for an Aircall radio telephone system.
It was now 1982, and if I can remember correctly, the air call cost me about £100 a month. But it was all inclusive. I stopped using my home phone, and even outside in the drive of my home in central South Lincolnshire, the car phone would reach its nearest base station at Nottingham. The service was, in a word, fantastic. At the press of a button, you had your own operator to connect you to any telephone number in the UK. No call charges, no matter how many calls you made. There was a limit on airtime, and I think about a minute or maybe two, they cut you off to give someone else a chance. You can say a lot in a minute. There was even an occasion coming home with our daughter from her boarding school in Cheshire when we used air call to assist a motorist in Nottingham with his car on fire. The air call service provided a priority red button for such an emergency. A long time before cell phones, the equipment in the car was all hands-free. You simply pressed a button on the dash and it sent your coded number into the nearest air call base to your location. Even in the Highlands of Scotland it never failed. The transmitter in the car well capable of carrying 80 miles as the crow flies. The conversation on the move was never a problem, as the signal was powerful and directed to your receiver. Jade 270 is something I will never forget. This was my call sign. It was my contact with anyone and everyone for almost 2 years, until the business eventually crashed. I did get the transport system up and running. Locations in all corners of the UK were established for collection of tyres and demountable bodies allocated to each point. It worked. But I was really a one-man operation, and as soon as the TMC, Tyre Manufacturers Conference, saw that my ideas worked and the locations were established, they pulled the plug. For 3 months I tried everything to keep control. A fantastic accountant, Ed Taylor, a true Christian from Peterborough, who I chanced on by accident, travelled with me to meetings in London and Leeds, Lincoln and Nottingham, to sort out better financial arrangements. Eventually we had to give in. Our bank had been pressurised to put us out of business. The big boys held all the cards and closed us down with simple financial strangulation. As soon as I had to stop and they moved me out, a tyre manufacturer subsidiary haulage company was put in to continue the good work I'd set up. I never saw the accountant friend again, and quite quickly had to sell our house and most of our possessions to survive. The local air call manager came to collect his equipment and breathed a sigh of relief. If every one of our clients used their air call phones as you did, we would have to go out of business, he said. Unbeknown to many at that time, within 5 years or so, they were overtaken by the cell phone. There we are. I hope you've enjoyed this story, brought to you by Cracker Books, written and read by Keith Sanders.
Right, I hope you enjoyed the air call story. I thought it was a marvellous piece of kit, actually, and I say when I'd give it up, I was gobsmacked. I really missed it, because it was so versatile. I could just sit in my car, wherever I was, and press a button and be connected by my own private personal telephone operator to anywhere I wanted. In the UK, I mean, you couldn't go mad, and it was a fixed price. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for being with us, and don't forget, hey, where's this hand? If you like it, give us a like and subscribe. How about subscribing? It helps the channel to grow. We're growing now. We've is it 200 or 300 subscribers? Anyway, it's leapt up this last couple of months, so thank you for that. And how about sharing with your mates as well? Links coming for Cracker Books, other publications at the end. Thank you for being with us. Till the next time. Cheerio.